Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Pastor Alex Mareniuc, and I've been serving in the South Indian Conference for the past 15 years in various roles, planting churches, pastoring both small and large congregations, working with ethnic churches, international churches, multicultural communities, and ministering both in London and across the wider territory. And today, I serve as the Stewardship and Trust Services Director in the South Indian Conference, and I come into this conversation with this experience of having journeyed with many types of churches and with a genuine desire to listen, to understand, and work together. So the message today is going to be one that is for everyone, that is one that is meant to explain to us the process we are going through. And to help me explain everything better, I am delighted to be joined by two colleagues from the British Union Conference, Cathy Boldeau, our Stewardship Director. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you.
And Wederly Aguiar, our British Union Conference Treasurer. Wederly, it's so good to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, together we are going to talk about something significant that is taking place across the whole British Union Conference between December 2025 and March 2026. This will be across the South England Conference, North England Conference, Irish Mission, Scottish Mission, Welsh Mission. And over these 4 months, we are going to embark on a shared journey to understand how our members view financial stewardship, systematic giving, and mission support. And during these 4 months, we want to hear from you how you give, what you understand giving is, what is systematic giving for you, what matters most to you, and how we can together strengthen the way we support God's mission at every level, from the local church where all of us will be, to the international field, the great global church that we are a part of. And we are calling this initiative the Stewardship Snapshot. You will see very soon invitations on various platforms and bookmarks that will be available for all churches, encouraging you to take part in a very comprehensive survey that will help us to understand how members currently give, how systematic giving is practiced across our churches, what you and I understand about the Adventist giving system right now, and also how we can best support mission in the years ahead of us. And the purpose of this program that we are doing today and that you will be watching at any point during the next 4 months is to explain what this consultation is, why we are doing it, what you can expect, and also how you can get involved. And the goal in this conversation is really to give you the background, to answer some of the questions that you might have, and also to show how your voice matters as we shape the future of mission giving together. But let's begin with the why. Why are we doing this consultation now, and what's behind it? That's probably the most important question at the beginning of this recording. And I have to say that at the heart of this whole process is something much, much deeper than church structures, percentages, financial models. It's all about how stewardship is seen as part of discipleship. Because stewardship is not primarily a financial activity. It's a spiritual practice. It's our day-to-day expression of our trust in God. It's our gratitude for his blessings. It's our commitment to participate in his mission. That's why when scripture talks about giving, it always places it within the context of relationship. Our relationship with God, our relationship with one another, and also our relationship with the mission that God has entrusted to us. So faithful stewardship really grows out of faithful discipleship. And faithful discipleship will always lead to mission. Now, the consultation we are going through between December 2025 and March 2026 is an opportunity to renew our focus on mission, even if nothing else. Because we live in a time where the needs of our church, whether locally, regionally, nationally, globally, are significant. We also live in a time when everyone rightly expects transparency, clarity, accountability in how resources are used. So part of this journey will be to make sure that our giving systems reflect the same values that we preach, the values of openness, of unity, of purpose, and of trust, of course. And there's another aspect to this. As a church, we want to make every decision when it comes to resources to reflect our faith, not just our finances. We don't want to just be driven by convenience or tradition or habit, but we want to ask what approach to giving best reflects our identity as a worldwide body committed to the gospel. So this question is spiritual before it is administrative. And that's why this consultation is not a top-down process. I want you to see it as an invitation for all of us to pause, to listen to each other, to understand how we think about systematic giving, how we understand mission, how we can strengthen the way we support the work of God together. It's about discernment. It's about faithfulness. And of course, it is about mission. So let me ask the first question to you, Cathy. Why are we doing this consultation now, and what is behind it?
Okay, thank you, Alex. I joined the BUC in, I think it was June 2024. And within that first week, I had a conversation with Wederly we had a conversation about finance and offerings. And in that conversation, we started to kind of explore what it looks like for our members to give. But we had no data. And one of the things that we did together was to set up the BUC Stewardship Working Group, where all of the sponsors from the missions, directors from the conferences, and also Wederly and myself actually formed this group. So what we did initially was to make sure that we involved every single entity in decision making when it came to stewardship. And then from there on, we had lots of conversations, and we thought, how can we best get the data? And we spoke to the South Pacific Division with yourself as well. And we had some conversations with the General Conference, and we thought that the best way of doing this was to do a survey and a consultation. And one of the things that we want to do is to include as many people as possible in the process. As you mentioned before, we don't want it to be top down. The BUC's role is here to support the conferences and the missions as much as we're able to. And this data will enable us to actually listen to the views of the membership. Each member has an opportunity to contribute to the survey. And it also enables us, from the data that we receive, to look at giving differently, and also to find out if there's anything that we need to do as an entity to support better giving in this territory. So it's twofold. It's to find out information, but it's also for us to think about how can we best support the mission of the British Union, of our conferences and of our missions through this survey.
Wederly, same question to you.
Thank you, Alex. Well, I guess from a Treasury perspective, it's a case of always ensuring that we're reviewing the frameworks we work within, the models, the structures, to make sure that they're still fit for purpose for the long term. And this is part of that picture of supporting conferences and missions in a way that is sustainable for the long term, but also provides clarity and accountability. But how do we test those questions of clarity and accountability without first understanding the nature and the views around the territory of how stewardship is seen, how stewardship is lived out? And once we can understand how stewardship is lived out in reality, then that's the chance then to assess whether our current frameworks are sustainable for the long term. So what this allows us to do is not only learn from global best practice and learn from models that are around us around the world, but also to understand them in the context of what our lived reality is here in the UK and Ireland.
Excellent, thank you. Now, when you will go to the survey, you will notice that it states that we are looking at two different aspects, two main aspects. And one is our current practices on systematic giving, but also there will be something mentioned there called the combined offering plan. So before we go any further, before we go into the survey itself, I want us to explain briefly what the combined offering plan is and how it compares to what we currently do. Now, in order to get to today, I want to look at the fact that over the years, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has used several different models to collect and distribute offerings. And every time a field, a conference, union, division, general conference has tried all that, it tried to answer the same fundamental question. How can we best support the mission of the church, locally, nationally, globally, in a fair, transparent, and most importantly, a sustainable way? And it's interesting to know that this idea of the systematic organized giving is not something that popped up in the last few years. Actually, reading through the history, the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists explains that the expression systematic benevolence first appeared in 1854 when James White was reflecting on Paul's counsel in 1 Corinthians 16:2. And then a year later, in 1855, he encouraged Adventist believers to follow Paul's instruction for regular proportionate giving by suggesting that members should consider donating to the cause of God, to the mission of God, an amount equal to their annual state taxes in order to support evangelism. In other words, systematic giving is not something that came after the 2000s. It's not something that came in the 20th century, but has always been a part of our identity right from the beginning. And fast forward to today, the combined offering plan, or you will hear COP, is the model that most of the global church now uses. In fact, it was recently adopted by the Inter-European Division as well, which takes the number of churches and territories that are using it to about 95% of all our worldwide territories. And the combined offering plan is preferred as the method of giving because it provides a simple, consistent way of giving that ensures every level of the church family is supported. Now, wherever you come from around the world, or here in the UK, you might have heard of one of the three most well-known giving plans, systematic giving plans. One of them, which is probably the best known, is the calendar of offerings. This is a system that you might be very familiar with, where each Sabbath a cause is highlighted. One week may be for the local budget, another week may be for mission, another may be for education, another one may be for ADRA. And while this has served us for many years, it can feel fragmented, and we have seen fewer churches following it consistently in recent years. There is also the North American Division Personal Giving Plan, a model that encourages members to decide for themselves what percentage of their income they want to allocate to the local conference and world mission. And the Personal Giving Plan promotes intentional giving, but varies widely from person to person. And the last major plan is this combined offering plan, which is the primary model used across the global church, which keeps things quite simple by receiving only one unified offering each week and distributing that offering proportionally through a very clear formula that supports the entire mission. You can actually think about the combined offering plan as a basket that ensures every part of the worldwide mission receives support. So when we give systematically into that one basket, we are not choosing between local or global causes. We are ensuring that all are sustained together. And at its heart, the combined offering plan is quite straightforward. One pot every week, and then that is shared systematically across all mission level. A proportion will support the local church. Another portion will support the wider mission of the conference and union and division. And another part will support global mission. And it's important to remember that tithe remains tithe in this system. The combined offering plan does not replace tithe. It doesn't change its purpose. Tithe continues to support the gospel ministry, our pastors, evangelism, and mission force exactly as it did before. But what the combined offering plan does is reorganize our unassigned or loose offerings. That is that part of our giving that expresses gratitude and commitment to support God's mission beyond tithe. And that is not earmarked for a specific destination. Now, this might include what goes into that combined offering pot, the notes or coins that are placed in the offering bag during the worship service, or the World Mission offering that is collected during Sabbath school. Maybe the money placed in a tithe envelope without specifying a destination. Also, funds that are sent by bank transfer without a designation, or even online or tithe envelope donations marked as COP or combined offering plan. And this is what brings all of this together. The combined offering plan takes all these offerings, unassigned and mission offerings, puts them into that one shared pool, and then distributes that faithfully and fairly according to the worldwide formula that supports mission where it is needed most. And this is what makes the combined offering plan so effective around the world, why it was adopted by so many, because it strengthens unity, it simplifies communication, and it keeps mission at the very center of our giving. We give for mission, we don't give for specific causes. And as we started talking about this in the last year, we've been asked several questions about this plan. So I want us to briefly respond to some of them. The first question, Cathy, I'll turn to you. Why now?
People are always asking that question, why now? 3 points, really. We need to review what we do. We have to constantly review so we can improve. And I think that over the years, stewardship in the union has actually just been a function, which means it's just been added on as something that somebody does if it's possible to do. At one point in time, stewardship in the union was, it just took the person who held the responsibility just handed the resources down to the other fields. So this is the first time in a long time that stewardship has actually been a full-time role in the British Union Conference. And so we felt that there was a need to review what we were doing and the way that offerings and giving was actually done in that particular field. That's number one, review. Also, we needed to be in alignment with the global church, because the combined offering plan came into being around about 2002. And it's never really been adopted in this field. We have attempted to use the calendar of offerings, but over the years, it's kind of slipped a bit and many churches are not following it. So we thought it'd be good to be in alignment with the global church and to see offerings as being very key to mission. And also, we live in a post-pandemic world where transparency is never more needed than it was as it is today. And so what people expected pre the pandemic, they have different expectations today. And so we also need to be transparent. And one of the things that we are trying to do during this survey and consultation is to ensure there is transparency. And this is one of the ways that we can do it, by looking at the combined offering plan. And the combined offering plan, we will look at it and think, okay, this amount of money is coming, it's gone to mission. And from the mission, we can then tell you, we ran a food bank, or we gave out literature. We'd be able to link directly the mission to the offerings that have been given, and therefore engendering trust in our members. Because if we don't have trust in our members, we can't really do our work. And if we don't have trust in our members, they won't do mission. And if our members do not trust us, they won't give. So trust and transparency is really, really important.
Thank you, Cathy. Now, Wederly, I'm going to ask you the second question. And looking at the combined offering plan and that pot that I mentioned, the pot is then distributed according to the formula. 60% stays in the local church, 20% goes to the regional and national mission, and then 20% goes to the general conference. So 60, 20, 20. And some of our listeners today might know this plan as the 60, 20, 20, because that is what it's called in some parts of the world. But Wederly, does that mean that my local church will get less money?
That's a really great question, Alex, and that we've heard it before from different quarters, different areas as well. And yeah, on the face of it, like you said, it's called the 60-20-20 rule. But what the structure is intended to do is actually simplify the offering structure. Right now, many churches rely on doing multiple offering appeals for different purposes throughout their weekly cycle. And what that does is it splits up a pot, or it splits up offerings into different pots. Now, the simplification that comes through this is to like, to use the analogy used earlier, to put the offerings, the unallocated offerings, or the offerings without a specific destination, into a basket to simplify the experience for members. And from that basket, it is then proportioned out based on the formulas that you've just explained there. So really, at the heart of this, it's giving members and friends and those who wish to donate to the causes that are dear to them within the church, a simplified structure where they can systematically give according to their commitments, their gratitude, their worldview, their stewardship worldview as well, into a basket that is then proportioned out to support mission at every level. So to ensure that their offerings don't just support the local church, the local communities, but also causes that are important to the worldwide church, to ensure that we are reaching communities in as many places around the world as possible.
Thank you, Wederly. Cathy, I'm going back to you. Somebody might watch this, or they might hear about the combined offering plan and look at how their church works right now, how the local church works right now, and they might say, well, you know what, the current system works because we are happy. I think I'm content with the system we are using right now. Why change something that already works?
For many people, change is a dirty word, okay? It's almost like swearing. People don't like change. I think for us here at the Union, we are focusing on mission growth. Mission is absolutely essential. And when Jesus was talking to his disciples, he said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. And we are not a congregational organization, we're a denominational organization. So our first focus has got to be mission. And we need to fund mission not only locally, not only nationally, but not only regionally, but globally. Because for us here in the UK and Ireland, we have it maybe relatively easy in some ways. There is some money, there are money flowing through to do mission. In other parts of the world, it's much harder. So we're changing to enable mission around the world and us to contribute to mission around the world. Also, communication is really important. When you have every Sabbath a different offering on the calendar of offerings, people get confused. We live in an age where communication needs to be simple. If I give via the combined offering plan, I know it goes to mission. I trust the leaders that I've elected at conference level, at union level, and division level will use those funds for mission and report back on how those funds have been used. But it's simple communication. If I've got to think about 52 Sabbaths, what's the offering going to this Sabbath? It's confusing. You know now that the offering you give via the combined offering plan goes to mission. So there is tithe and there is the mission offering. And also, once again, it's about equitable distribution. So we know that this portion stays in the local church, this portion goes to the conference, this portion goes to the union, this portion goes to the division. It's about equitable distribution, and it's actually up to us as church leaders to constantly report back to tell everyone where the money has been spent.
Thank you, Cathy. And you mentioned mission and giving for mission. Wederly, what happens to mission offerings?
Yeah, so I referred to earlier that many churches rely on multiple offering appeals in their weekly cycle. And one of those is usually for mission. And those mission funds currently do go through a process through the World Church to ensure that they are directed towards the most appropriate causes to expand the gospel. Now, what happens to those mission offerings? The other aspect of why we are reviewing the current system is this element of simplification and transparency. So, what happens to mission offerings? If the structures were to support a combined offering plan, then in that combined offering, there would always be parts of that stay at the local church, so that local churches can do mission, because that's important. But also it ensures that proportions of that are utilized for mission, to support mission in national context, in regional context, in global contexts, so that at every stage there is a structure that will continue to support the purpose of the worldwide church, and that is to spread good news.
Thank you. Can any of you tell me how other countries handle the combined offering plan?
I recently visited the Caribbean, and they do call it the 60-40-40 plan.
60-20-20.
60-20-20, sorry, thank you so much. And so when I talked about the combined offering plan, they looked at me very strangely and thought, we don't have that. It was a 60-20-20. Some of them are finding that it works well for them. I visited another Caribbean country and it wasn't working quite as well for them. And it depended on the cost of living. Sometimes I'm being open and transparent here, it doesn't always work. And sometimes the percentages might need to be adjusted a little bit. But they said that it did make on the positive side, it did make their giving much simpler. They didn't have to think about giving offerings for lots of things. And so only if there is like a major appeal for disaster, like, Hurricane Melissa, do they have to think about it? They don't have to think about it. They come in, they return a faithful tithe, and they give their offerings, and it's simple as that. And then it's worked out accordingly by the church. And they said it makes it easier for them. Definitely.
Okay.
I do think what Cathy has raised there is really important, though, and I think that's the reason why we are taking this very measured approach to assess that, because we do need to see if the experience of the combined offering plan would work in our context, or perhaps not. And that's why it's important to go through an exercise of a very measured exercise to assess that in our global context. We do want to learn from global best practice, but at the same time, it needs to be relevant and efficient in our context as well.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the honesty, because we have to admit any initiative has things that work and things that don't work, and we cannot just present something positively when people might find out very soon that maybe in other parts of the world it doesn't work as well. And as you rightly said, Wederly, this is why we are going to be doing this consultation, this survey, to find out what our current practices are. We're also going to collect some data to be able to model how this would work in our field, and we're going to be communicating all this all throughout the process. But it's a process that we want to go through together. It's not a process that we want to present to everyone as a given. We are not imposing this on anyone, but we want every single person to have the opportunity to be part of the conversation. And then when we will provide the report, we will provide it for everyone, not just for a select few. But I want us to go into this area of systematic giving, which is not a new idea for us as Seventh-day Adventists. It goes right back to Scripture, where in 1 Corinthians 16:12, Paul encourages the early church to set something aside regularly as God has prospered them. And then in Malachi 3, we know very well, God calls his people to bring their tithes and offerings faithfully, not sporadically, not impulsively, but as an intentional expression of their worship. And at its heart, systematic giving is simply the practice of planning our generosity rather than reacting to whichever appeal happens to be made on a Sabbath. Systematic giving is thoughtful, prayerful, proportionate. It's a way of putting God first in our financial priorities. And so that principle is the foundation of every systematic giving model that the church has used over the years, including the combined offering plan. And this is also why the survey begins by asking about our current tithe and offering habits. We want to understand the future of mission giving, but first we need to understand how we give today. But Cathy, what is the difference between systematic giving and the combined offering plan?
Systematic giving really is the way I give personally. Okay, so for example, I grew up in a household that was that where we, with my grandmother when I was a child, where she would put the money on the table and she would say this much is for tithe, this much is for offering, and it was done every single week. So it was very systematic. It was done every single Friday evening before the Sabbath. She put our tithe on the table and she put our offering on the table, and then we were encouraged to put it in the envelope and write on it in preparation for church the next day. So systematic giving is something that I do on a regular basis. It's actually something that is personal to me. The combined offering plan is the organizational framework where the money is channeled through.
Thank you, Cathy. I also want you to explain us or walk us through how the survey will work.
Okay, the survey starts, the launch of the survey is the 6th of December. So we've started it in the first Sabbath of December and we're launching it on World Stewardship Day 2025. The survey will run through the month of December 2025, January, February, and March 2026, and end on the last Sabbath of March, which is the 28th of March. So it will run for 4 months. And the survey is for all members. Anybody who is a member, or actually who is a regular visitor as well, who returns tithe and offering, is free to actually participate in that. So we're encouraging all of our 46,000+ members and regular visitors to become involved in this. At the end of March, we'll spend April, May, and June analysing the information. But because we want to be transparent, we are not going to do this on our own. We're also going to seek the services of an organisation who is an Adventist organisation, but who is adept at doing these kinds of reports to assist us to ensure there is transparency. Because if the 3 of us do it, or the 6 or the 10 of us do it, people could say that, you know what, you have been biased. You've actually have the figures out that you want. You've actually doctored the information, and we don't want that to be the case. So we are given the raw data and the quantitative data as well to an organization who will assist in actually writing the report. And once that report has been done, that report will be ready in time for the BUC session. Now, you might ask us the question, why in time for the BUC session? When the BUC session arrives, it is possible that there could be new leaders in place, but we will actually have that report finalised there for the church membership and also for the benefit of potential new leaders. One of the things we want to emphasise on the survey is that it is anonymous. The survey is anonymous, and that will help us to make it transparent, so you can be honest with your answers and also with the level of confidentiality. If for any reason you do want to put your name at the end, we will then take that information. There is an option to do that, and then you can be part of the focus groups. We will be visiting the territory over the next 4 months, and we will be having focus groups, and you have an opportunity to be part of those focus groups. But if you don't want to do that, everything else will be anonymous and confidential. The purpose of the feedback is not for us to make a decision. It's for us to be guided by the information that is given to us. So as Wederly mentioned, if, for example, there is not the appetite to do this, we won't do this. We will go back to the table and say, maybe we have to have a different plan. Maybe we have got to go back to what we originally had as a calendar of offerings. Maybe we have to adopt what the North American division do with the personal giving plan. Maybe we'll have a combination of all three. Maybe it was something brand new. But we're going to listen to the membership and be guided by the information that you give to us.
So this consultation is not about making a decision for members, but with members. It's a time to listen and learn together. And I think it's very important to emphasize that.
Yes.
But Wederly, I'm going to ask you a very treasury-related question. How does systematic giving support stability in mission funding?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I always like to talk about treasury, so this is good. What systematic giving enables treasury departments, certainly in our region, but across the world to do, is to budget based on a predictable source of income. Now, for those who enjoy the world of treasury, the world of finance, the world of budgeting, what you'll know from that is it actually enables you to be more effective and more accurate and more relevant in the way that you can plan for activities coming up. Currently, when it comes to mission offerings, sometimes it's a little hard to predict, and therefore more prudence needs to be built in to ensure that overall budgets still work. But if a more systematic approach were available and a more predictable source of mission offerings were available, then that allows us to plan better, to measure impact better, to plan our reporting structures better. So ultimately, it still comes down to having good accountability structures right across the board.
Thank you, Wederly. Before we go to our closing statements, I just want to quickly walk you through the survey, because when you will open the survey, the first thing you will notice will be that it begins with asking about current giving habits. How you give tithe, how often you give offerings, the ways in which you usually give. And this will help us to build a realistic picture of what systematic giving looks like in our churches today. The second part of the survey then will move into your awareness and understanding of the different systematic giving models within the Adventist Church, and we'll ask for your views on the combined offering plan. We actually want to know what you think, what you understand, what questions you might still have. And I want to reassure you, just like Cathy mentioned, that every response is completely confidential. No names or identifying details are collected. The goal that we have is not to judge individual giving, but to understand the wider patterns and perceptions across our territory. Those who will choose to be part of the focus groups and will leave their name and their contact details, that information will not be connected in any way with the answers that you give. I just want to reinforce that. And then once the survey will close, all the responses from across the British Union Conference will be brought together and will be reviewed by the appropriate teams and committees. And this will form the basis for a full report that will help all the leaders to understand the readiness, the concerns, and also the hopes that our members have. And this is the reason why your participation really matters. The information that you share will directly inform the recommendations that we make, the decisions that will follow from 2026 onwards. Your voice in this survey or as part of a focus group will help shape how we support mission locally, nationally, globally in the years ahead. So it's not just about now, but it's about the years to come as well. And as we close, I want to hear again from both of you, and I want to ask you, Cathy, first, what excites you most about this process?
The thing that excites me most is about unity. We are in the British Union Conference. We have got 5 nations, but we've also got different entities, and it's really good for us to come together in unity to say, look, we're doing this together, we're listening together, we're sharing together, we're advancing the mission together. I believe that, like the GC president, Ayrton Kohler, that everything that we do as a church should be grounded in the Bible and focused in mission. And I think stewardship should be very much like that. It should be the area that is completely grounded in the Bible and focused on mission, and doing this together and listening to each other and actually saying, okay, there might be things that I haven't thought about that somebody brings up from Galway, or there's something that we haven't thought about as a team that somebody brings up from Cornwall or from Sheffield. It will mean that we are getting information and we are being able to work towards, a mission in United Kingdom and Ireland together. And I'm so excited because unity excites me. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to come together and actually formulate something together as a church for God's mission.
Amen. Amen. Wonderful. Wederly, what excites you most about this process?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about transparency, about stability. When we're able to plan with confidence, we can also show clearly how funds impact lives. And ultimately, that's what we work towards every day, to have more accountable structures so that everybody can feel like they can contribute to the mission of the church in different ways. So yeah, transparency, stability, we use these words a lot, accountability, but so that everybody can feel a part of the mission.
Brilliant. For me, it's about shared ownership of God's mission. You see, we are a global church, a worldwide church. As a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, I can go in any Seventh-day Adventist church around the world and be the pastor of that church. Now, I'm not just confined to the UK or the South England Conference or somewhere in Europe, but we are part of a big family. And our mission over the years has been seen as a shared mission. That's how a small church that started in the United States following the Great Disappointment was able to reach out so many territories, to the point where now we have one of the largest networks of hospitals, one of the largest networks of schools around the world. We have so many institutions, so many churches, so many members, so many initiatives that are happening on a local level, but also on a wider level. It's because we are all in this together and we support the mission together. This is what excites me. This shared ownership where every gift, every member, every level of the church is working together to really fulfill the commission of taking the gospel everywhere to everyone. So as we come to the end of our conversation today, I want to briefly recap where we've been. We've talked about why this consultation is taking place, why the combined offering plan is there and what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how you can share your voice by taking part in this survey. And I want to emphasize once again that no decision has been made. This is not a launch, it's a consultation. It's an opportunity for us to pause, to listen to one another, to understand how we view stewardship, how we understand systematic giving, how we practice systematic giving, and also about how we see our shared mission. So I want to invite you to take a few minutes to complete the survey, because your insight, your experiences, your honest reflections will shape how we do mission together in the future across our territory. Cathy, I want to thank you once again for being with us here today. And Wederly, thank you so much for your contributions as well. And to everyone watching, let's shape together the future of mission giving. Thank you.